DreAllDay.com.
We're now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. This is the go-getter energy that moves you to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. Putting all this together, you get the mindset, the method, the podcast known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day. Welcome to the show. Today's topic. Today we're talking the window and the mirror. The window and the mirror. Now this is a concept that I thought of as I'm reading the book that I'm currently reading when I'm recording this. It's called Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's a well-read book. I think on the cover of the book says it's been sold over 3 million copies. Some of you may have read it. Many of you probably have heard of it. But I'm just now getting to this book and it's really good so far. I'm probably at the point that I'm recording this, maybe 20% through the book, but some really good ideas in there. The book is really about, those of you who haven't heard of it or maybe heard but don't know what it's about why some companies become amazing and some companies just become, some companies. So why some companies just remain just okay or average or, amongst the masses. But what is it that causes some companies just to become unbelievable companies? And the ideas that have been shared thus far in the book, and again, I'm only about 20% through the book, are not the things that you would expect. And that's what makes the book so interesting. It's not the type of concepts that you've probably heard in a bunch of other leadership or personal development books, even anything by me, because the way that they came up with these ideas and the concepts that they share in the book is something that, again, I had never heard of anyone doing before. And if they had, they would have wrote a book about it. So you go read that book if you want to know more, or you could go read the book. My review will come out after I finish reading it, but you still need to read it regardless of what I said. But one of the concepts here, again, is the mirror and the window and the mirror. And the idea is that the best leaders always attribute their success to the window. They talk about their people, how everyone there is so great and have helped them, how they have a great team, how maybe there's been some good luck that came from the outside that allowed them to be successful. But the leaders of the great organizations are very rarely are they the ones who say, well, we became great because of my great vision and my amazing leadership. It's not all about it's usually about the team. And in turn, the team usually says, hey, that person is just so great, even though that person usually has so much humility that they're not even willing to ever point the finger at themselves. That's what I'm talking about when I say the mirror. They point outward when things are going great, and their ego is always in the background. And the less effective leaders, and when I say less effective, I'm not meaning necessarily in the moment that they're doing their job, but the legacy that they leave behind. Meaning these companies that never become or don't remain great are the companies that sometimes have these less effective leaders who the company does well while that person is leading, but as soon as that person goes, there's no succession plan in place. They didn't leave a great company behind, so everything falls apart once this less effective person leaves. Now you may say, well, that just means that that person was even more effective because they weren't able to sustain it after that person. But on the contrary, what author Jim Collins argues in his book is that the reason that the companies fall apart after the quote unquote less effective leader leaves is because that less effective leadership was all about that one individual. And that's the reason why they could not sustain greatness without him. A great organization is going to be great even after one great performer leaves. If that organization falls apart after the one great performer leaves, that means maybe the organization was never great in the first place. Great organizations will maintain regardless of who's at the helm and who's running things. And if you look around at any organization in business, in sports, in anywhere in life, you'll notice that this is how it is. One great performer will be great while they are there, but as soon as that person leaves, do they continue to be good and solid, or does everything just fall apart and go to shit? So that's something you can take right there from the book. But again, I encourage you to go get the book, Good to Great, read, invest in yourself, and it's more about the time than it is the money. The less effective leaders, again, I didn't even say what the description of them was. Well, that was one part of it. But the less effective leaders, while they're at the helm or when they're being talked about for their success with the companies that they're with, at least while they are there, they attribute their success to the mirror, meaning they're talking about themselves. I, me. It's more about them as an individual star than it is about anyone or anything else. And again, that can lead to great results while that person is there, but is there a succession plan? Can the company continue to be great after this person leaves? And in the business world, if the company just falls to shit after one leader leaves, that may be because that one leader only took actions that served his purposes or her purposes for the time he or she was in charge, not thinking about or even caring about how that will leave the company, what position that will leave the company in once that person was gone. And there are many case studies of people who did this in the business world. And if you read up on it, you can find them very easily. But let's get into our points here today. The topic again is the window and the mirror. We're talking about leadership here, and each one of you is in a position of leadership. Whether you're succeeding or failing at it, you are in a position of leadership, even if it's just you that you're leading by yourself. Point number one, it takes more than hard work and talent to become a success. Now, this is something that I've talked about many times already, and many of the factors that make someone into a quote unquote success, because we all have different definitions of success, many factors are not under our control, such as upbringing is one of them. If any of you have read any studies on children or people who grow up to become criminals, or statistics on people who quote unquote succeed or don't succeed, whether that is dying an early death, certain types of health, whether they get a good job, make a certain amount of money, end up incarcerated or in the, the system, the criminal justice system, or they just end up doing something that somebody, whoever does whatever study deems as success. The statistics have shown clearly that children who come from two-parent homes tend to succeed at a much higher rate than children who come from anything less than a two-parent home. Now, it doesn't mean you're doomed to failure if you don't have both parents at home, and it doesn't mean you're guaranteed to succeed if you do, because I've known people in both categories who've been the exact opposite. But again, that's luck. If you happen to have both parents, you already have a head start on someone who doesn't. That's part of the luck that you didn't have any control over that could lead to your success. Good situations, for example, this is what I'm talking about, that you did nothing to create, an outside circumstance that you had no control over, but it happened to work in your favor. And when people reach success, and this is something that I've touched on many times, a lot of people have too much ego, or they're just completely unaware. They're so unaware that they can't even admit that not all of their success is attributed to their personal awesomeness. Some people, when they become successful, all they want to talk about is how hard they work and how they had the vision and how they stuck with it. And those things may all be true, but they don't want to bring up any of the luck that contributed to them becoming great. Maybe because they're unaware, maybe because they don't want to point that out, because again, they won't look like as much of a superhero if they do. But understand, people will still like you if you admit it. And anyway, point number two. Today's topic is the window and the mirror. So that first point that I made before I even get on to point number two, that's about the window and the mirror, because a person who isn't so egotistical to admit that, you know what, there was some luck that played into my success, there was some great timing that played into this, there were a bunch of people who lent a helping hand, that if they had not come along at the time that they come along, this wouldn't be possible. That's the window, right? Because we're looking outside of ourselves and recognizing things outside of our greatness that allowed us to become successful. And understand, anyone who becomes great, anyone who becomes successful by anybody's measure of what success means, there are a bunch of things that came from outside of that window that allowed them to be successful, whether they want to admit it or not. Now, the mirror is the person who is so egotistical or so completely unaware, so completely, what's the word that I'm looking, there's a certain phrase I'm looking for that's escaping me right now, but they're so unaware of the elements that went into their success that the only thing they can talk about is I and me. I worked hard, I showed up early, I stayed later than everybody else, I outworked my competition, I believed in me, myself, all the time, I never gave up on me, myself. These are people, again, who are egotistical and they don't have the self-awareness. They don't understand there's a lot of things that came from outside that window that contributed to their success, but they don't want to point that out again because either they don't know or they want to make themselves look like a superhero. So again, that's the window and the mirror in effect. Point number two, today's topic again is the window and the mirror. We're talking leadership here today and recognizing what creates success. Number two, if you are one of the individuals who's in that mirror crowd that you either don't recognize or you choose to ignore the effects that came from outside of you that contribute to your success or failure, you think everything is great because you individually are great, then understand, if you want to be that person, I'm not here to argue that you should change. I'm not here to convince you to change your mind. I'm not here to tell you to be anything different. All right, so if you thought that's what it was, that's not what it is. Here's what I am telling you though. If you want to be that person who wants to look in the mirror every time you succeed and say, I succeeded because I'm so great, and understand that you also have to face the flip side of that coin. And you know what the flip side of that mirror coin is? Is the ugly fact that your failures are also 100% because of you. So if your successes are because of you, because you're so great, because you showed up early, because you outworked your competition, because you just saw things before everybody else saw them, because you just need to show thanks to yourself. If that's the reason why everything is working out in your favor, then you also need to own it when things are not working out. If and when things turn ugly, if and when things are not going the way that you expected, if and when that luck is not shining on you anymore, you can't point out the window. You can't say it was because of bad luck. You can't say because of these people. You can't say it was because of timing. Because if it was because of you, that everything worked, then it's also because of you, that everything's not working, if and when that time ever comes. In my experience, people that I've dealt with who are these mirror individuals, the people who love taking all of the credit every time that things are going well, or they want to take the credit if things are going well, even if they didn't have anything to do with it. These people are really, really bad at taking blame. They're really, really bad at taking ownership of failures. These are the type of people who you have to point it out to them and beat them over the head with the fact that they're responsible for a failure for them to even come close to acknowledging any amount of responsibility for a failure. And I'm talking not like I'm just gonna go run up to somebody and just point the finger and yell at them until they say, yeah, it was my fault. I mean, this could be someone who's even asking, who's asking for a consultation or coaching on why things are not working. Well, listen, the first step in understanding why something's not working, if you're a leader, is understanding your role in that failure, understanding your role in the fact that things are not working. Understand, where are you coming up short? What are you not doing? What could you have done that you did not do? These are questions that you need to be asking yourself. A lot of people fail as leaders because they fail in the ability to take the blame when things are working, but they are first in line to take credit when things are working. Did I say when things are not working? All right, let me say that one more time. A lot of people fail in leadership, these mirror people, because they are unwilling or incapable to accept blame when things are not going well, but they are the first in line to accept credit when things are going well. They don't even have to accept credit. They demand credit. They take credit. All right, they don't even have to be in line. They're the ones handing out the credit, and there's not much left to give to anybody else once they've sucked up all that they're gonna take. The problem is, with these people, other people, whoever's on their team, the people who are around them, they can see right through this. People can see through it. Any of you listening who's a mirror individual, people can see right through it when you're the type of person who hogs up all the credit, but you don't want to take any of the blame. You're nowhere to be found when there's blame to pass around, but you're the first one in line when there's credit to be taken. People can see right through that. And people cannot faithfully follow you when they know that you're that type of individual, because they know if things work out, they're not going to get any appreciation. And if things go wrong, they're going to get all the blame. Who wants to follow that individual? Do you want to follow somebody like that? I know I don't. I've known some people like that, and they don't have followers. They may have people who go along because they have to, at least for the moment, temporarily. But in the long run, nobody wants to follow those people. Who wants to deal with that kind of fate, knowing that that's how it's going to be? Would you? Or if you wouldn't, why do you think anybody else would? Point number 3. Today's topic is the window and the mirror. We're talking about leadership, self-leadership, team leadership in any capacity, in any area of life. Point number 3 is, if used properly, both the window and the mirror can keep you humble and on point in a good way. Okay? And I don't even like to throw around this phrase humble too often, but I mean humble in a good way. Humble as in, I'm humble enough to understand that yes, I won the game last night, but that means I got to keep working on my game, because I know these guys who I beat, they're going to come back that much stronger next time. All right, that's being humble and being on point in a way that is positive. I won this game, but I can still get better. All right, we had great luck in winning this championship here because we had certain things that went our way that didn't have to go our way. But look, we might not be this lucky next time, so we got to be ready. We got to be on point. We got to show up and prepare so that we don't have to depend on or get helped by luck next time around. All right, another person, again, using the mirror and the window at the same time, they can say, it's clearly not my fault that things are failing here. They may not say that out loud, they're thinking it. But you know what? I'm going to take full responsibility for fixing this issue. Why? Because I'm a leader. and I want to be in a position of leadership, and I want people to look at me and say, this person stepped up and took the lead for us when we needed it. That's taking leadership. That's taking responsibility. It's clearly not my fault. Again, this is just a thought that goes in your mind. It's not my fault, but I'm going to take responsibility. I didn't put us in this situation, but I'm going to get us out of this situation. All right? I'm not the cause of this failure or this catastrophe that's happening over here, but I'm going to do something about it. That is the window and the mirror, in effect, using it the right way. So if you use them properly, you need both the window and the mirror. All right? You don't need only a window. All right? That's not what I'm saying here today. You don't want to just always be looking to the outside, because when things go wrong, you can't always look to the outside. At some point, you got to look within. You need the mirror when things are not working. So the simple concept here is that the best leaders are the type of people, when things are going well, they're looking to the outside. Okay, yeah, we got lucky a little bit here. These people deserve way more credit than I deserve. I'm not taking anything from myself. I'm just a voice. I'm just the guide here. I'm not some superstar, great person that just has these beautiful ideas that nothing ever goes wrong. That's what the window is good for. What the mirror is good for is when things are not working out, hey, let me look at myself and see how I can fix this. When someone else makes a mistake, since you're the leader, instead of blaming that person, looking out the window, you're gonna say, all right, how can I help and fix this situation? And also, what can I do to position this person so that that same mistake doesn't happen again next time? That's how the mirror can work for you. When things are not working, use the mirror. When things are working, use the window. Let's recap today's topic, which is the window and the mirror. And this is a concept that I thought of while reading a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. If you haven't read that book, I strongly urge you to go get that book. And point number one, it takes more than hard work and talent to become a success, many factors of which we don't control. It also takes more than hard work and talent to become a failure, all right? More than a lack of work and a lack of talent often to become a failure, such as upbringing, such as luck, good situations that we do nothing ourselves to create, but these outside circumstances help control, not help control, but they help contribute to whether we succeed or whether we fail, whether we want them to or not. So do not have too much ego to admit that not all of your success is attributed to your personal awesomeness. And at the same time, you're willing to do that, then you also can admit that not all your failures are attributed to just you being a bum or you being a dumbass. People will still like you if you're willing to admit that. Point number two, if you're in the mirror crowd, type of person who everything's about you, everything's about me, then you'll have to face the flip side of that coin, which is the ugly fact that your failures are also 100% about you. The challenge with mirror individuals is that they really suck at taking responsibility for when they mess up. They really suck at taking responsibility and blame when things are not going well, but they take 100% of the cake of credit when things are going good. And the problem is people can see right through this. All right? People are not dumb. They can see right through it when you're the type of person to hog all the attention and hog all the credit. And no good people are going to follow you for a long time because they know they get no credit if things work out and they get all the blame when things go wrong. Point number three. If used properly, both the window and the mirror can keep you humble and on point in a good way, meaning I won this game, but I can still get better. I might not have such great luck next time, so I gotta be ready. It's clearly not my fault, this situation, but I'm taking full responsibility for fixing the issue. This is leadership at its best. Using the window to give the credit out and using the mirror to accept responsibility and accept blame when things aren't working. Any person who does that, people will be willing to follow you because they know they're gonna be appreciated when things are working out, and they know that they're not gonna have to suffer the brunt of the blame when things aren't working out. And this is just the burden of being a leader. If you plan on being a leader amongst other people, then this is just what you have to accept as the reality of it. Now, what's going on in the gang group? In the personal development section, we do a lot on personal leadership. And if you're going to lead any other people in life, I don't care if it's just one other person, it could be your child or your significant other, you got to lead yourself first. Anything that you cannot discipline yourself to do, it will be damn near impossible for you to discipline anyone else to do, or to motivate anyone else, or to inspire anyone else, or any feelings or habits that you want to get out of other people. You will have a very hard time getting them from others if you can't get them from yourself. So the first place we got to start is with personal leadership. And that's why we have a personal development section in the gang group. If you didn't know that gang group membership, every area that we offer in the gang group is open to anyone who has a membership. So we didn't section it off. I started off sectioning it off, but then I decided it didn't make sense. I want every area available to everybody because everyone needs the personal development. Whether you're an athlete, a business person, entrepreneur, or maybe you have no idea what you're going to be in life or what you want to be in life, the personal development section will help you get clear, first of all, on you. Then you can focus again, looking out the mirror at anybody else. So you got looking out the window rather. First you got to look in the mirror, figure out yourself and get yourself in the right space. Then you can look out the window and start focusing on what you can do in the outside world. That's all in the gang group. Of course, we had a forum there. Every episode of the Work on Your Game podcast that's not on the public feeds is within the game group and is available to game group members. Of course, we also have specials on all of my courses, which are at dreallday.com/courses. Any of those you've been plotting and scheming on to get access to, you get special access through game group membership. And we have the live quarterly trainings there where you can ask me questions directly live on the spot. That's all at the game group at dreallday.com/membership or dreallday.com/game group. Both go to the same place. Work on your game. dreallday.com.